Hey guys, Phillip Harding here. Wanted to chat with you guys about selecting the right optic for your particular application. Got a couple of different topics that we want to go over when we're deciding what the best optic's going to be for our situation. First thing is going to be the gun and the cartridge that you're going to be using. As well as the activity, what style of shooting you're going to be doing. Obviously, something like a Benchrest competition is going to be way different than 3-gun or home defense type situation. So we'll go over those in a little bit more detail. Then you want to select some of the features of your scope, such as the focal plane, the turrets, what reticle it's got in it, as well as any additional accessories that you might need for your particular kit. All right, so for selecting your particular activity, let's say, for example, you're gonna go shoot 3-gun. You've already got your gun in mind. You know you're gonna be using 16 or 18-inch, slightly accurized 223 AR platform rifle like we've got right here. You're probably gonna want something that you can acquire your targets really, really quickly with. And magnification is pretty important for that, or rather lack thereof. So you'll want something maybe like this low-power variable optic here. Burris's primary candidate in that realm is the RT6, which has nice variable power from a true 1x, which will allow you to keep both eyes open and shoot very, very quickly and keep your times down when you're trying to compete against everybody else. Something like this right here. This would be more of a long-range precision, PRS, NRL type setup. I've got the XTR3 5.5 to 30 on it. This one's going to have all the features and accessories that I need in order to compete at a high level in those competitions. And you'll want to consider using some of the same features in those as well. The last one I've got over here, this one in particular is a 223, but the scope that's on it's actually going to be fantastic for 22 as well, like those little rimfire competitions. The NRL 22 is a big one. The RT high magnification, this is the RT25. We've also got the RT15. Both of them have a parallax that's going to go down to a really, really close focus, which is going to be very, very handy for shooting those small targets at close range. And it comes in at a much lower price point than either of the other scopes. So that'll definitely be a consideration for the rimfire shooters. Last up, we've got our Benchrest competitors. They might be interested in something with extremely high magnification, so they won't have to worry about carrying a spotting scope at the same time. They can simply spot with their own optic. And they'll also have very specialized reticles out of our 2 Benchrest specific scopes, the XTR2 8 to 40. We have a first focal plane model and a second focal plane model with reticles geared specifically towards that sport. As that's for competition. As for home defense, it really kind of depends on the user. Typically, most folks are going to go for a compact red dot, which we do manufacture prism sights and red dots, other low magnification optics, as well as the 3-gun style low power variable optics as well would be a solid consideration for that sort of game. So the next topic, the next thing to consider is going to be the focal plane of your particular optic. It's going to depend mostly on, again, those previously mentioned use cases for your optic and your firearm and your shooting system. Typically we find that first focal plane is more popular among precision shooters, folks that are shooting long range, and will be changing their magnification on a regular basis depending on the situation that arises. And the reason that first focal plane is important, it maintains the scale of the reticle to the image and the target seen through the scope. So you want to make sure and consider that first focal plane if you're going to be changing magnification very often. If you're going to be shooting long range, you want to make sure and have that guarantee that all the numbers that are in the scope and all of the sizes that are out in the world, in the view through your field of view, are going to be accurate. Rear focal plane, obviously, is the other option, and we typically find that there's a lot of debate on whether front versus rear focal plane is going to be better for close range to mid-range kind of shooting. I'll use 3-gun as an example. That's what I'm most familiar with. You could be engaging targets at point-blank range, 7 yards. With a rear focal plane optic, and if you've got a first focal plane optic, you want to consider that your reticle has made that consideration. You've actually got something you can see, because if you take a low power variable optic like this one or the RT6, and let's say the RT6 was in first focal plane, its rear. But if you were to demagnify down to 1 power, that reticle would become so small you wouldn't actually be able to use it for much of anything. So absolutely make that consideration when you're selecting your scope, and you'll be off to the races. The third thing to consider is going to be the turret that's on your particular optic. Now our tactical optics actually all share a couple of different features. For one of them is the zero stop. All of our tactical optics actually do have a zero stop mechanism on them. From the XTR2 to the XTR3, even the RT series, the entry level RT series has a zero stop on all except the RT6 because those are capped knobs. So we'll start with those RTs. We've got the zero stop in addition to our locking turrets. So the locking turret allows you to lock the setting at any point in your adjustment range. But if you go all the way down to the bottom, the actual turret will stop at your 0 point, which ideally would be your sight-in distance. So for most of these, we're going to do it at 100 yards. And no matter whether my adjustment has been unlocked or not, I will not be able to dial below my 0 distance, which is a nice peace of mind to have in any of these uses. That same thing is going to apply to the XTR2 and the XTR3. Except there are a couple of differences between these two XTR2 and XTR3 knobs. So the 2 has been with us since about 2015, 2014, and we developed it to have a very aggressive knob texture and feel, because we want you guys to be able to use them even when it's, you're hot and sweaty. Say you've got dirt, grime, mud, whatever on your hands, you still want to be able to positively engage that turret and ensure that you're making accurate adjustments. With the XTR3, we actually took that a step further, and if you get your hands on one of these, you'll certainly feel it for yourself that these are incredibly aggressive. Idea being that even if you're wearing gloves, nothing's going to slip. You're going to have a nice positive engagement on that adjustment surface and be able to make accurate adjustments. One more thing to consider on the XTR3 is this bad boy right here. This is our race dial, available in both mil and MOA configurations. This will just replace your normal XTR3 adjustment dial and allows you this nice white right-on surface. You can actually use just about any kind of marker, dry erase, wet erase, even a permanent marker if you really like, and use a mild solvent like rubbing alcohol to wipe those off. Or cover it with a piece of Scotch tape. It's actually exactly the proper width, and right on top of that tape, and be able to have a nice removable surface to write down all of your dope data for your next stage. The fourth thing to consider is reticle choice. Reticles, so when you're looking down a rifle scope, down an optic, the reticle is what you're going to see the most. Everything else is kind of happening outside your field of view, but you spend so much time looking down the scope and at that reticle that you really do want to be incredibly comfortable with what you're looking at and understand what each of the graduations mean, any of the markings that are in there. If they're for a particular measurement, you're going to want to be intimately familiar with that. And for that reason, we actually do publish all of our reticle maps on our website. We'll put a link in the description below if you want to check out any of the particular ones that are shown in this film. But we do publish everything that we've made on our website. For our long-range precision, we basically have 3 main reticles. All of them are SCR, which stands for Special Competition Reticle. The Special Competition Reticle that came out originally on the XTR2 was a very no frills. We wanted to kind of condense as much information as we could into a reticle design that wasn't so busy that it was really just kind of clogging up your field of view and really occluding your image. The SCR2 reticle, which is going to be found in the RT25 and the XTR3, that one is a very similar evolution of the SCR. And we've actually added kind of some windage dots in a sort of triangular trapezoidal orientation underneath the main horizon of the reticle, and that's going to allow you to do holdover shots as opposed to having to dial for windage at long ranges. In one more long-range precision specialty that we have is in these FClass scopes that I mentioned previously. Now we do actually have 2 different reticles one in the first focal plane, one in the rear focal plane, and those are both designed specifically with FClass Benchrest shooting in mind. And there are some very particular and detailed features of those reticles. If you need more details, by all means, check out our website, give our tech support guys a call, and they'd be able to help you out. Finally, on our low power stuff, we do kind of a general, everything's sort of geared towards ARs. The bullet drop is very, very similar across a lot of different cartridges. You can use our ballistics tool services to find out how those lines are going to translate for your particular cartridge. We can go over that in another video. But the key point on most of these low powers is you're going to have an illuminated center portion of the reticle that's going to give you a nice feature to focus on at close range. And then you're going to have some drop lines underneath that are going to match your ballistic trajectory. And you can zoom in on those on the first focal plane models, and on the rear focal plane models, of course, they'll always be there and relevant on the highest magnification. The final piece that you're going to want to consider is any accessories. Obviously, these are all built to be able to be used standalone, but accessories can absolutely positively affect how you're shooting, how you're performing, and whatever it is you're trying to accomplish in the shooting world. And I have a couple of accessories here to demonstrate. I'll start off with this guy right here. So on this model, I have a bubble level. So that bubble level is going to be very important for ensuring that your rifle system is oriented level to the horizon. It's going to be very, very important for long-range shooting to make sure that your trajectory is following along your dope card, your ballistic sheet, and all your data tables as accurately as possible. Additionally, we've got a red dot optic, our little Fastfire 3, on this scope tube mount, so we're able to orient that in any direction we want. I have it here going between the windage and elevation knobs so that if I need to kind of get myself oriented while I'm down on the rifle, I can point that red dot at a target and either engage something close range or get my scope itself on a higher magnification oriented and not have to be searching for the target. Speaking of searching for that target, I also have a throw lever here. These throw levers will fit on the Veracity, the XTR2, and the XTR3. And they will assist in making it a little bit easier and faster to turn that magnification knob. So if you need to zoom out, find your target, then zoom in nice and quickly, you've got a nice and easy, high-profile way to do that with this nice, aggressively textured throw lever. And then finally, on some of our other products, we've got like the RT. They've got an accessory built in with this modular throw lever built in right here. You can actually put that throw lever into any of these little slots. Same basic concept. And then of course the race dial that we had actually mentioned earlier, got that right here. That'd be considered an additional accessory. So that's everything. Those are the 5 primary things to consider when you're selecting an optic for your particular shooting situation.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, drop them in the comments below. We'll do our best to answer them and get you the right Burris product for you. Otherwise, make sure to click the link right here for the next piece of educational material. As always, click the subscribe button to get more information on Burris and hit that like button.